Hey everyone, Tyler Everett here. Thanks for dropping by. So I just recently shot an interview that I had a lot of fun lighting, and I figured I'd make a YouTube video about it to kind of give you a little lighting breakdown of the interview. Now, this was a paid gig, so I didn't have time to A/B each of the lights and all that kind of stuff for you, unfortunately. However, I did have enough time quickly to just grab my camera and walk around and get a couple shots of the different lights to kind of give you an idea of what I was working with. So let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do anything with the lightings, first let's talk about the framing. So as with any shot, and this either narrative or interview, whatever the case may be, first thing is you got to find your framing and then light around that. So when I go into a location, and especially if I haven't had the opportunity to scout it, like in this instance, I kind of have two objectives when I'm trying to find my framing. Number one, I want to find a motivation for a key light, whether it's a practical or window or something like that. And the next thing is to find my framing where I can have depth in the shot. So if you look at the frame here, you can see it's exactly what I've done. So what I did is I actually really like that dining area in the back corner of the frame. So I kind of used that, the idea of that's going to be my background. So I just pulled my camera as far back as possible from that. And then I set the talent up in a way that there was some separation from the talent in the background, as opposed to having the talent right in that corner. It would have just felt very flat and unflattering. So pulling that talent away from that background just kind of added a little bit of separation. So that objective is complete, and then you can see the windows on the right side of the frame. That is the second objective is complete too. We can use those windows as our motivation for our key light. So now that we got our framing all sorted out, let's go ahead and start talking about the lights, and let's start with the key light. So for the key light, I used an Aperture Nova P300C set to daylight balance at full output, and in front of that I had a 6x6 frame with magic cloth for my diffusion material. And this served actually two purposes. The first thing it did is the magic cloth gave really soft light on the talent, so you can see the roll off from highlights to shadows is very gradual and very pleasing, so it looks really good there. But the other thing it actually did was it gave a really unique catch light. So it's really popular to use circular soft boxes or something for a catch light in talent's eyes, but in this case I actually preferred how the square of the 6x6 frame looked in the catch light. And the reason being is because the motivation is these really big windows. You can see on the right side of the frame, these really tall windows. So with the square shape of the source coming from the 6x6 frame, you actually get more of a square shaped catch light in the talent's eye. So it kind of looks like it's an actual window lighting him as opposed to, you know, a circular softbox or something like that. Anyways, that's just me. So let's go ahead and move on to the next light, which is the window light, which is actually the motivation for this key light. And we actually shot this at, you know, about 6:30 or so. It's when we started rolling, and it was pretty much pitch black at that time. And even if it wasn't pitch black, it was snowing really pretty good outside. So any opportunity for like actual sunlight coming through the windows was pretty much non-existent. So we wanted to make this look like a daytime interview shot. So what I did is I brought the 600D Pro out onto the back porch, and I just threw as much light as I could as possible to cover as much surface area as I could. And what I did is I got really lucky because these window treatments were just basically like diffusion material, just really light diffusion material. So I just dropped those down just to kind of hide what was going on in the background, and that kind of helped like the light kind of bounce and reflect through that diffusion material, through those curtains. And then the other thing I did is I just dropped the blinds on the window on that back door right there, and that just kind of gave some interesting shadows there on the chair and the background and stuff like that. So that was the window light there, but just that light out there didn't look that realistic. It was pretty intense, and on that background, the shadows and light looked like it was pretty fake. So what I did is I added another light in the room, and I used the Aperture 300D Mark II, and I just blasted that into the ceiling just to give an exposure lift in the back corner of the room, just to kind of balance out that exposure a little bit more from the light coming out from outside to the light that was actually inside the room, just to kind of balance it out a little bit more. So that's that light. And the very last light we'll talk about is the hair light, and that's why I actually have that chandelier in the actual frame, so I can use that as a motivation for the hair light. So what I did is I had an Aperture 300X, and I used the Light Dome Mini, and I just used that with the grid on it just to get a little bit of exposure, a little bit of a hair light, just to separate the talent from the background. Now, even though he was wearing a dark shirt and it contrasted a lot with the background, which was a much lighter tone, the edge light still really helped just kind of give a little bit more separation and just a little bit more texture, even on the shirt, but more so on his hair. So if you look at his hair and the color of the paint of the background of the wall, that kind of blend in a little bit. So that edge light, that hair light, really helps just kind of separate him from that background, just kind of add a little bit of contrast between his hair and the background, so it didn't just kind of like blend together and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all the lights I used. 4 lights, the Nova, the 600D, the 300D2, and the 300X. Now, there are a couple things I really would have liked to have done differently on this shot, just to kind of make the shot look a little bit better. Namely, like in the bottom right-hand corner, that little side table right there, I would have loved to have added some kind of light on that, just to kind of lift the exposure of that a little bit more, just to kind of balance that part out a little bit more, but I think that's kind of being nitpicky. And then if I could have, I didn't have any more gels the size to be able to put in front of the 600D, but I really would have liked to have put like a CTS, or maybe like a quarter CTO or something like that in front of the 600D, just kind of make that light look a little bit more like a sunrise light or something like that. Again, it's kind of nitpicky, but anyways, I criticize all my work, so that's what I'm doing here on live television. So anyways, I hope you found that helpful, useful, or anything like that. If you did, maybe hit that thumbs up, subscribe, all that kind of stuff if you want to. If you didn't like it, hit that thumbs down button. You know, it's your life. Do whatever you want with it. And you can make me feel sad by hitting that thumbs down button if you want to. But anyways, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.